Now, 70,000 new jobs. That's a headline figure for our new local enterprise partnerships, the LEPs. They're going to unveil their plans for regenerating the East Midlands economy. And in a moment, we'll be hearing from the businessman with the task of reigniting the local economy for Leicester and Leicestershire. But first, the head of the Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire LEP tells us how he's planning to create 45,000 jobs over the next 10 years. Spin back in time to 1771 and to Derbyshire's Derwent Valley. A stroke of genius here helped to usher in the first industrial revolution. It was Richard Arkwright who came up with the idea of harnessing the power of water to run machines. So where are the big ideas of the future going to come from? Talking up plans to turn Arkwright's mill at Cromford into a tourist attraction is a business leader we're going to hear a lot from.
I'm David Ralph, I'm Chief Executive of the D2N2 Local Enterprise Partnership.
That partnership, known as the LEP, was set up to grow the local economy. That's the hope of the coalition government and local businesses.
The single biggest message we hear from businesses is the lack of skills amongst the workforce, both people leaving school, people leaving college and university not being work ready, but also the workforces themselves. And we've already established a skills commission. We are publishing a skills plan next Tuesday as part of our new growth deal for the area.
But do the new LEPs have enough financial clout? This business in Derbyshire is looking to its LEP to provide some financial heavy lifting to help it plug a skill shortage.
We're finding that we're having to bring people in that are very raw and actually train them up with these skills. But obviously this takes us a long time, and as a small company, we haven't always got that time.
That worry is shared by co-director Caroline Wright. Her dad set up this lorry-mounted crane business 30 years ago. It survived the recession, but it's looking to the LEPs for support now.
Some of the kit in particular that we deal with is very, very expensive, and some help towards investment in machinery would be a real bonus to our business.
We are identifying 6 key priorities that we're going to tackle, including particularly apprenticeships. We don't think apprenticeships should be second choice. We think they should be vocational qualifications in an area that's famous for building things, should be an absolute priority.
Right, so that's something you're tackling.
West Nottinghamshire College at Mansfield offers the type of skills training that the LEP wants to encourage. It's all part of D2N2's ambition to create 45,000 new jobs and to help these students find work.
Coming here, this fabulous place that we were working, I've learnt a lot. I've learnt a lot about myself, and I feel very confident about the future now.
So where's the LEP's money coming from?
We also are embarking on major reforms to the way we spend money locally through the creation of the single local growth fund.
The Chancellor's given England's 39 LEPs a share in a new £2 billion a year fund, and there's over £500 million from the EU for the 5 LEPs that make up the East Midlands.
To date, it has not fared as well as it could have done in some of these pots of money. And we argue our case through our MPs, through our local politicians and through our businesses that this area actually can have a step change in its economic growth.
Richard Arkwright's ideas were a huge step change too. The region's enterprise partnerships can only hope his vision can inspire the current generation of business leaders. Well, joining us to discuss all that is businessman Andrew Bacon, who's chairman of the Leicester and Leicestershire LEP. Now, Andrew, David Ralph was talking about 45,000 jobs in Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. What's your target for Leicester and Leicestershire? What type of figure are you aiming at?
Well, a year and a half ago, we established a plan for 25,000 new jobs to be created by the development sites that we were investing in. That's 5 key development sites will deliver 16,000 jobs. The enterprise zone at Myra in Leicestershire is one key,
isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. That's already up and running, already generated 250 jobs, 4 investors already on site, the 5th one to be announced very soon.
So we're talking big jobs, aren't we? Big numbers. Is the Chancellor backing the LEPs with the kind of financial firepower, the clout to actually deliver?
I think we would have liked a larger sum, but actually we've made great progress so far. We've been particularly, I think, fortunate in the last couple of years with the levels of investment coming into Leicestershire with Regional Growth Fund and Growing Places Fund. Of course, the £2 billion single pot per year will be of value, But I think it's really about the flexibilities and the other the lack of constraints. We really want one single pot, not 10 or 20 different projects to bid for.
Okay, Margaret, I mean, we've heard mention about money here. Are you convinced that this government is putting forward enough money to try and get that step change that we've heard about?
I think there are a number of problems. One of them is that the government has been so much geared on public service cuts that any investment that they're making tends to be geared to the longer term, whereas what we're all worried about, I think, is getting things kick-started now. And I'm really sorry that the government hasn't taken our advice and gone for an infrastructure boost that will bring jobs and construction and so on at the present time, which is when we need it. But, you know, pleased with whatever does come, but wish it was more earlier and more on target.
Yeah, there's been a big criticism, Jason, hasn't there, really, that, you know, we're kind of 2.5 years into this government and we're only now getting the detail of what some of these enterprise partnerships are going to be offering.
Well, I think it's been a lot slower than people would anticipate, but let's not underestimate. I'm really quite excited, particularly about...
You're excited?
Well, about Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. You know, they call it the most ambitious postcodes in the UK, and I think it's essential for politicians like us to sing the praises of our region. We're talking about 55,000 jobs. We're talking about £20 billion of investment over the period. It's not what we wanted. It's not as much, but we've already created 1 million jobs and 1.2 million apprenticeships. We've got to start from somewhere, and I think the future's much brighter than it was.
What you specialise in the whole area of regeneration policy, but what persuades you that the LEPs could be more successful than, let's say, the NEMDA, the Regional Development Agency, that the last Labour government created?
Well, I think there's a key difference. It's a three-pronged approach. It's about having the right people in the right places and with the tools to do the job. And I think
it didn't. Agencies have that too?
It didn't have the right link between business and local government and other partners, third sector partners, for example, to make sure the right people were sat around the table to pull the levers and move shelf-ready projects quickly.
Margaret, one thing that strikes me, we're talking here about 45,000 jobs over 10 years. That's 4,500 jobs a year now in a manufacturing area that has big names like Rolls-Royce and Toyota and Boots here. Is it that ambitious?
Well, one of the things that worries me is, yes, we've still got some big, highly successful employers, and we're immensely proud, for example, of Rolls-Royce and Bombardier in Derby. But down the supply chain, there are a lot of people still having a lot of difficulties, and many, many small and medium-sized businesses who'd like to expand, who'd like to create jobs, who are making no progress with the banks. And so far, whatever it is that the government has done doesn't seem to have cracked that problem of getting them investment when they need it.
And what about you, Andrew? I mean, are you ambitious enough? Because it strikes me that actually your LEP is going to be in direct competition with the Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire LEP for exactly the same sort of regeneration and the companies that you would hope to attract to your area as opposed to this part of the East Midlands.
I don't think we're competing for the same pounds. Actually, I think we're collaborating more than competing. Most of the developments in and around Leicester and Leicestershire will also benefit surrounding areas as well. The economy has no borders. I think the competition is really with the opportunities, and the real challenges are establishing those links with business to find out the specific projects that need the funding. That's the real challenge. There will be elements of competition, of course. We're all going for the same pot, but I don't think it's competition in that sense.
Are you fairly confident about the way things are going to develop? I'm
very confident. You know, we've had 2 years of really building a solid platform. We've invested well. We've got a good return on that investment. We've leveraged well in terms of private sector funding. I'm looking forward to the next year or two, because I think we can really start to progress the projects. And also skills, which was mentioned earlier on, is also a major challenge for us as well. We have 20,000 people that effectively could get a job to be matched with the 20,000 vacancies tomorrow. That's another challenge as well.
Okay, Andrew Bacon, thank you very much indeed.